Welcome to our channel, where we gently explore historical tales designed to lull you into a deep and peaceful sleep. Today, we embark on a journey through time, back to an ancient world, where a great soul found serenity amidst the shifting tides of life. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let the soft whispers of the past carry you away. In the hazy mists of history, a figure emerges, not as a famed battlefield king, but as a philosopher on the throne. Marcus Aurelius. He served as Roman emperor from 161 to 180 CE, and throughout his 19-year reign, he shaped an era often referred to as the Golden Age of the Empire. His life was not a series of triumphant victories or grand conquests, but a profound internal journey, a relentless struggle to live by the highest ideals of Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius was not merely a political leader. He was a deep thinker, a seeker of truth and meaning in a world of constant flux. He is most renowned for his work, Meditations, a collection of personal notes, reflections on philosophy, ethics, and life itself. This book was never intended for public consumption, but rather served as a silent dialogue with himself, a gentle reminder of the principles he constantly strived to uphold. It stands as a mirror reflecting the soul of an ordinary man bearing extraordinary responsibilities, one who sought to live a meaningful life, not through power or wealth, but through equanimity, wisdom, and compassion. As we begin this journey, you will find that Marcus Aurelius's life is a gentle invitation to discover peace within your own soul, even when the world around you seems to spin. Asterisk, can you feel it? The serene stillness of an ancient Roman morning. Not the clamor of the marketplace or the clatter of horse hooves on paved roads, but a gentle, soft quietude when the sun still hesitates to peek over the rooftops. Imagine yourself there, perhaps as a gentle breeze rustles through an olive tree, carrying with it the faint scent of dew on stone. That quiet, introspective feeling is where our story begins, long before the weight of an empire rested upon his young shoulders. In the hush of those early hours, a young boy named Marcus would often find himself lost in thought. You might see him, not yet burdened by the titles and expectations that would come, simply observing the world around him. He wasn't a boisterous child, full of loud games and raucous laughter. Instead, there was a quiet solemnity about him, even in his youth. You might notice the way his gaze would linger, not on the fleeting distractions of the day, but on something deeper, something unseen. It was as if he was already searching for patterns, for understanding, in the quiet rhythm of existence. His childhood, while privileged, was not without its shadows. Loss, in its own gentle way, made an early acquaintance with him. You can almost feel the soft ache of absence, the subtle shift in the air when a loved one departs. These early farewells, though perhaps not dramatic, left a quiet imprint on his developing soul. They taught him, in the tender way only life can, about the transient nature of things, about the ebb and flow of connections. You might sense a growing introspection in him, a quiet pondering of life's delicate balance. It was in these moments, perhaps, that the seeds of his later philosophical leanings were sown, not through grand pronouncements, but through the quiet wisdom gleaned from observation and the gentle ache of memory. His education wasn't just about facts and figures, but about shaping the mind and the spirit. You might imagine the soft rustle of papyrus scrolls, the quiet murmur of voices in a sun-dappled room, as wise tutors guided his young mind. They introduced him to the profound thinkers of the past, to the concepts of virtue, duty, and the pursuit of wisdom. It wasn't a forced education, but a gentle unveiling, like the gradual opening of a flower. You can almost feel the ideas taking root within him, transforming his understanding of the world, not through sudden revelations, but through a slow, steady absorption. He was learning not just what to think, but how to think, to question, to reflect. The quiet pursuit of knowledge became a refuge, a peaceful harbor in a world that would soon demand much of him. You might picture him, perhaps by a window, the soft light of dawn illuminating the pages of a book, lost in the wisdom of others. It was in these quiet moments that he began to build the inner fortress that would later withstand the storms of empire. The teachings of the Stoics, with their emphasis on reason, self-control, and acceptance, resonated deeply with his introspective nature. They offered a framework, a gentle guiding hand, for navigating the complexities of life without being overwhelmed by its turmoil. You can almost feel the sense of calm that these ideas brought to him, a quiet assurance that even amidst uncertainty, there was a path to inner peace. His connection with his adoptive father, Antoninus Pius, was another gentle influence. It wasn't a relationship of grand gestures or dramatic pronouncements, but one built on quiet respect and understanding. You might perceive the subtle warmth of their bond, the unspoken lessons passed down, not through lectures, but through example. Antoninus, a man known for his mild temperament and commitment to duty, showed Marcus, in a quiet, unassuming way, what it meant to lead with integrity and compassion. You can almost feel the gentle shaping of character, the gradual installation of values that would define Marcus's own reign. It was a mentorship that nurtured rather than dictated, allowing Marcus's own inherent goodness to blossom as you settle deeper into this narrative, perhaps feeling the gentle pull of sleep. Remember that even in these early years, the seeds of the great Stoic emperor were being sown. The quiet observations, the early encounters with loss, the gentle guidance of his mentors, all these elements wove together to form the tapestry of his character. There was no rush, no sudden dramatic turn, just the slow, steady unfolding of a life destined for extraordinary responsibilities, yet grounded in a profound sense of inner calm. You might find comfort in this slow pace, in the idea that greatness can emerge not from explosive events, but from the quiet cultivation of self. So, before you get too comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you'd like, share in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is for you. Imagine a whisper, almost imperceptible at first, growing steadily louder until it becomes a gentle hum in the air. This is how the future arrived for Marcus. It wasn't with a sudden, jarring announcement, but with a gradual, almost imperceptible shifting of the tides. You might feel the subtle anticipation, a sense that something significant is unfolding, even if its exact shape isn't yet clear. The world around him, once a place of quiet study and introspective thought, slowly began to reorient itself, not through a dramatic upheaval, but through a series of gentle currents that guided him towards an unforeseen destiny. You see, the path to the throne for Marcus wasn't one of ruthless ambition or political maneuvering. Instead, it was a quiet, almost reluctant ascent. It felt less like a conquest and more like a gentle, almost unavoidable obligation. You might sense the quiet solemnity of this transition, the subtle weight that settled upon his shoulders long before the actual crown. The expectations, once confined to his family and tutors, began to extend outward, encompassing the vast, complex tapestry of the Roman Empire. There was no fanfare, no grand declaration, just the slow, steady realization that his life was no longer entirely his own, as he moved through the various stages of his young adult life, taking on more responsibilities within the Roman state. You might observe the same quiet dedication that characterized his childhood, whether it was in legal proceedings, administrative duties, or simply attending to the affairs of state. He approached each task not with a desire for power, but with a deep sense of duty. You can almost feel the deliberate thoughtfulness with which he considered each decision, weighing not just the immediate consequences, but the broader implications for the people he served. It was a commitment born not of ego, but of an inherent sense of what was right and just. There were moments, too, of quiet companionship. His marriage to Faustina the Younger wasn't a whirlwind romance of passionate declarations, but a bond that matured gently over time. You might feel the warmth of shared experiences, the subtle comfort of a familiar presence. While history often portrays empresses with a certain flair, for Marcus, she was a constant in a world of flux, a partner in the quiet domestic rhythm of life. Their relationship, like many things in his life, was not defined by dramatic highs or lows, but by a steady, unwavering connection, a shared journey through the quiet unfolding of their lives together. You can almost sense the unspoken understanding that grew between them, the quiet strength they drew from each other amidst the growing demands of their position. The gradual integration into the imperial family, first as adopted son to Antoninus Pius, then as his chosen successor, felt less like an anointing and more like a slow, deliberate unfolding of destiny. You might imagine the quiet conversations, the thoughtful guidance from Antoninus, preparing Marcus not just for the duties of emperor, but for the profound inner strength required to bear such a burden. It was a tutelage in leadership that transcended mere politics, delving into the very essence of character and virtue. You can almost feel the quiet transmission of wisdom, the subtle shaping of a future ruler's heart and mind, not through force, but through gentle persuasion and unwavering example. Through it all, his Stoic principles remained his quiet anchor. You might envision him, even amidst the growing responsibilities, finding moments of solitude, perhaps in the quiet of his chambers, to reflect on the teachings that guided him. The external world might have grown louder, more demanding, but his inner world remained a sanctuary of calm reflection. He was learning, day by day, not to be swept away by the currents of external events, but to find his equilibrium within himself. You can almost feel the steadying presence of his philosophical beliefs, like a quiet hum beneath the surface of his daily life, keeping him centered and serene. As you drift deeper into this gentle narrative, consider how a life can be shaped, not by dramatic pronouncements or sudden shifts, but by a series of quiet preparations, by the slow accumulation of wisdom, and by a steadfast commitment to inner principles. Marcus's path to the throne was a testament to the power of gentle persistence, of quiet growth, and of a heart that sought not power, but purpose. You might find a quiet comfort in this idea, that even the grandest destinies can unfold with a gentle, almost dreamlike quality. You can almost feel the gentle shift in the air, a subtle deepening of the shadows as the sun, once playfully dancing, now casts a longer, more serious light. This is the quiet dawn of a new era, not just for Rome, but for Marcus himself. The day Antoninus Pius, his adoptive father and predecessor, quietly slipped away, wasn't marked by a sudden, jarring change, but by a profound internal recognition of an immense weight settling upon his soul. You might sense the quiet solemnity of that moment, a private turning point where the boy who loved philosophy fully embraced the man he was destined to become. It wasn't a coronation filled with roaring crowds, but a quiet, almost spiritual assumption of a sacred trust. The throne, when it finally became his, felt less like a prize and more like a sacred duty, a solemn vow. You can almost feel the smooth, cool touch of the imperial purple, not as a symbol of power to be wielded, but as a mantle of responsibility to be borne with humility. His initial act, sharing power with Lucius Verus, wasn't a strategic maneuver, but a testament to his innate sense of fairness and a quiet understanding of the sheer magnitude of the task ahead. You might perceive the subtle wisdom in this decision, a quiet acknowledgement that even the most capable individual cannot bear such a burden alone. It was a partnership forged not in ambition, but in a shared commitment to the well-being of the empire. His early reign was characterized by a quiet diligence, a steady application of the principles he had so carefully cultivated. You might imagine him in the quiet of his study, poring over petitions, listening patiently to counsel, making decisions not with haste, but with thoughtful consideration. He wasn't driven by a desire for personal glory, but by an unwavering commitment to justice and the welfare of his people. You can almost feel the calm, measured rhythm of his days, a stark contrast to the often tumultuous world outside the palace walls. His focus was on good governance, on ensuring the smooth functioning of the vast machinery of the empire, always with an eye towards fairness and stability. Yet, even in this era of quiet, considered leadership, the world outside Rome began to stir. You might hear the distant, faint echoes of unrest, like a murmuring wind carrying news from faraway lands. The Parthian War, though fought far from Rome, brought with it a different kind of burden, the weight of lives entrusted to his command, the unseen suffering of distant battles. You can almost feel the silent vigil he kept, not on the battlefield, but in his mind, wrestling with the moral implications of conflict, even when necessary. It wasn't a war he sought, but one he faced with the same quiet resolve and sense of duty that characterized every other aspect of his life. The victories, when they came, felt less like triumphs and more like the quiet fulfillment of a difficult obligation. During these challenging times, his philosophical writings became his most intimate companions. You might picture him late at night when the palace was hushed, penning his thoughts in what would become meditations. These weren't grand pronouncements for the public, but quiet conversations with himself, a way to anchor his spirit amidst the swirling currents of imperial demands and external threats. You can almost feel the gentle scratch of his pen on papyrus, each word a step deeper into self-understanding, a quiet affirmation of his Stoic path. It was in these private moments that he found solace, processing the weight of the world through the calming lens of reason and acceptance. The years of his early reign, therefore, were a gentle preparation for the even greater trials to come. You might sense the subtle strengthening of his spirit, the deepening of his wisdom, as he navigated the delicate balance between imperial power and personal virtue. He was learning, through quiet experience, that true leadership wasn't about imposing one's will, but about serving with integrity, even when the path was arduous. You can almost feel the quiet growth, the gentle refinement of a soul committed to living meaningfully, not just for himself, but for the vast tapestry of humanity under his care. As you allow yourself to drift further into this peaceful narrative, consider the quiet dignity with which responsibility can be embraced. Marcus Aurelius, in his early years as emperor, teaches us that the greatest power lies not in authority itself, but in the gentle, unwavering commitment to purpose and principle. Even when the world demands so much, you might find a quiet sense of peace in this steady, reassuring presence, guiding an empire with a philosopher's heart. You might feel a subtle chill in the air, not a harsh winter cold, but the quiet, pervasive coolness that signals an unwelcome change. This is the feeling that settled over the Roman Empire, and indeed over Marcus's heart, as the Antonine Plague began its slow, relentless march. It wasn't a sudden, violent storm, but a creeping mist, invisible yet profoundly altering the landscape of life. You can almost sense the quiet anxiety that permeated the air, the hushed whispers of illness, and the sorrowful silence of homes touched by loss. It was a period that tested not just the resilience of an empire, but the very depths of a philosophical soul. Imagine the quiet despair that must have settled upon him as news arrived, not of distant battles or political intrigues, but of the silent enemy decimating his people. You might picture him in the quiet of his study, the weight of countless unseen lives pressing upon him. There were no grand military campaigns to launch against this foe, no diplomatic treaties to negotiate. It was a helpless watch, a profound confrontation with the limits of human power. He couldn't command the disease to retreat, nor could he comfort every dying soul. You can almost feel the quiet solitude of his position, the immense burden of leadership in the face of an invisible, unstoppable force. The plague brought with it a profound sense of isolation, even for an emperor surrounded by advisors and courtiers. You might perceive the loneliness of the decision-maker, the one who must remain strong when others falter. He saw the suffering, the fear, the disruption of daily life. And while he acted swiftly to implement public health measures, to support the afflicted, and to manage the economic fallout, he did so with a quiet, internal resolve. It was a time when the Stoic principle of acceptance, of distinguishing between what one can and cannot control, became not just an intellectual exercise, but a vital lifeline for his spirit. You can almost sense his quiet struggle to maintain his inner equilibrium amidst the widespread chaos and grief. Beyond the immediate crisis, the plague also brought with it a quiet yet profound contemplation of mortality. You might imagine him looking out over the silent city, reflecting on the fragility of life, on how quickly human endeavors can be undone by unseen forces. This was not a morbid preoccupation, but a deeper understanding of the human condition, a gentle reminder of the impermanence of all things. It reinforced his Stoic belief in living virtuously in the present moment, for the future was never guaranteed. You can almost feel the quiet strengthening of his philosophical convictions during this dark period, transforming adversity into a deeper wellspring of wisdom. His personal life, too, was touched by this pervasive sadness. The quiet comfort of his family, which had been a source of strength, was now also a source of vulnerability. You might sense the quiet fear for loved ones, the unspoken prayers, the profound relief when they were spared, and the deep sorrow when they were not. These were not public displays of emotion, but private anxieties and griefs, born with the same quiet dignity he exhibited in his public life. The solitude of leadership meant that even his personal sorrows were often experienced within the quiet confines of his own heart. As the years of the plague slowly unfolded, Marcus Aurelius continued his quiet work, maintaining the fabric of the empire, administering justice, and guiding his people through an unprecedented crisis. You might observe the steady rhythm of his dedication, like a lighthouse beam cutting through the fog, offering a constant point of reference in a turbulent sea. He embodied the Stoic ideal of duty, performing his role with unwavering commitment. Even when his own spirit was undoubtedly weary, you can almost feel the quiet resilience, the gentle persistence, of a man who understood that even in the face of overwhelming odds, one must continue to act with reason and virtue. As you allow yourself to drift deeper into this tranquil narrative, consider the quiet strength that emerges when one faces profound adversity with an unwavering commitment to inner principles. Marcus Aurelius, during the long shadow of the plague, teaches us that true leadership often lies not in conquering external foes, but in maintaining internal peace and diligently fulfilling one's duty, even amidst the deepest sorrow. You might find a quiet comfort in this testament to human endurance, a gentle reminder that even in the darkest times, a calm heart can prevail. You might feel a subtle shift in the rhythm, a quiet insistence that pulls you from the introspective stillness of Rome to the distant, sprawling frontiers of the empire. This isn't the dramatic clamor of a war drum, but the steady, rhythmic trudge of legionary boots on dusty roads, a sound that speaks of duty and endless miles. For Marcus, the quiet anguish of the plague at home eventually gave way to the undeniable call of the northern borders. You can almost sense the internal sigh, the quiet recognition that his philosophical studies would now be conducted under the vast, open skies of Germania, amidst the stern realities of defending a vast empire. Imagine the quiet departure from Rome, not with celebratory parades, but with a sense of determined necessity. You might picture him leaving behind the familiar comforts of the palace, trading marble halls for temporary military camps. This was not a king leading his armies for personal glory, but a philosopher emperor, a guardian, answering a summons he could not ignore. The barbarian tribes, pressing against the empire's fringes, represented a different kind of challenge than the plague, a tangible threat that required a direct, albeit reluctant, response. You can almost feel the quiet weight of that responsibility, the personal sacrifice of leaving behind the life he cherished for the demanding life of the field. Life on the frontier was one of quiet endurance. You might sense the crisp, cold air of the northern forests, the faint smell of wood smoke from a legionary camp, gone with the philosophical debates of the Senate, replaced by the practicalities of logistics, strategy, and the daily grind of military life. Yet, even here, Marcus found his moments of quiet reflection. His meditations continued to grow, penned perhaps by the glow of a flickering oil lamp in a tent, or while sitting on a camp stool, observing the silent vigilance of his soldiers. You can almost feel the deep introspection, the continued search for inner calm amidst the constant hum of military preparedness. These campaigns, often spanning years, were not a series of glorious battles, but a relentless effort of attrition, of strategic maneuvering, and of quiet diplomacy interspersed with necessary force. You might perceive the endless negotiations, the careful weighing of alliances, the quiet determination to secure the empire's peace through patient effort. He wasn't a general consumed by the thrill of victory, but a leader who understood the cost of every life, every skirmish. His presence on the frontier was not merely symbolic. It was a testament to his belief in leading by example, sharing the hardships with his troops. You can almost feel the quiet solidarity he fostered, the unspoken bond forged through shared discomfort and common purpose. The harshness of the environment, the constant low-level threat, and the protracted nature of the conflicts brought their own unique form of solitude. You might imagine him looking out over a desolate landscape, the vastness of the frontier mirroring the vastness of his own responsibilities. Even surrounded by his legions, the decisions were ultimately his. the burden of leadership a solitary one. It was in these quiet, challenging moments that his Stoic teachings provided solace and strength, reminding him to focus on what was within his control, his own reactions, his own virtue, his own unwavering commitment to duty. You can almost feel the deep well of inner resilience he drew upon, a quiet strength that sustained him through weariness and doubt. Yet, amidst the rigors of campaigning, there were also moments of quiet observation, of a deeper understanding of the world beyond Rome. You might sense his growing appreciation for the resilience of ordinary people, the steadfast loyalty of his soldiers, and the complex, often tragic, interplay between cultures. These experiences, though arduous, broadened his perspective, reinforcing his sense of universal brotherhood and the shared human condition. It was a profound learning experience, conducted not in the halls of academia, but on the cold, unforgiving plains of the empire's edge. You can almost feel the quiet transformation within him, as the practical demands of leadership deepened his philosophical insights. As you allow yourself to drift deeper into this gentle narrative, consider the quiet dignity of a leader who willingly embraced hardship for the sake of his people. Marcus Aurelius, on the silent marches to the frontier, teaches us that true strength lies not in avoiding challenges, but in meeting them with a calm heart, an unwavering sense of duty, and a continued commitment to one's inner principles, even in the most demanding circumstances. You might find a quiet comfort in this steadfast presence, a guiding light through the long nights on the edges of the known world. You might feel a gentle lull, a quiet pause between the intensity of one challenge and the dawning of another. Even amidst the constant demands of the frontier, there were periods of relative quiet, moments when the clash of swords gave way to the rustle of leaves or the murmur of a flowing river. These interstitial times, though outwardly less dramatic, were profoundly significant for Marcus. You can almost sense the deep exhalation, the subtle shift in focus from external threats to the enduring landscape of his inner world. It was in these quiet interludes that the lessons of his experiences truly took root, shaping his philosophy with the rough edges of reality. Imagine him sitting by a campfire at dusk, the flickering flames casting long, dancing shadows, the sounds of the camp slowly fading into the quiet of the night. Here, far from the polished halls of Rome, the abstract concepts of Stoicism found their stark, practical application. He saw firsthand the fragility of human life, the unpredictable nature of fate, and the unwavering courage of ordinary men facing extraordinary hardship. You might perceive the quiet intensity of his observations, transforming intellectual understanding into lived wisdom. These were not lessons taught in books, but etched onto the very fabric of his being by the harsh realities of campaigning. It was during these quiet lulls that the concept of acceptance, a cornerstone of Stoicism, deepened its meaning for him. You might feel the profound peace that comes from acknowledging what is beyond one's control: the weather, the unpredictable actions of others, the inevitable march of disease or death. He wasn't passively resigning himself to fate, but actively choosing to embrace reality as it was, rather than resisting it with futile anger or despair. This quiet mental discipline allowed him to preserve his inner tranquility, even when the external world remained chaotic. You can almost sense the subtle, yet powerful, shift within him, as he learned to find freedom not in controlling circumstances, but in mastering his own reactions. These periods also offered opportunities for quiet reflection on the nature of leadership. You might envision him observing his legions, noting the dynamics between commanders and soldiers, the importance of discipline, and the profound impact of empathy. He wasn't just directing battles, he was leading people, men with fears and families, hopes and dreams. He understood that true authority came not from decree, but from integrity and genuine concern for those under his command. You can almost feel the quiet weight of his responsibility for their well-being, a leadership born of compassion rather than mere power. His meditations continued to be his private refuge during these times. You might picture him, perhaps on a quiet afternoon, the sun warming his face, jotting down thoughts that were both intensely personal and universally profound. These were not intellectual exercises, but a continuous dialogue with his own conscience, a constant self-assessment, to ensure he was living up to his own highest ideals. You can almost feel the gentle process of self-correction, the quiet struggle to align his actions with his principles, refining his character with each passing day. Even when the sounds of peace were fleeting, the quiet solitude of his mind remained. He learned to cultivate an inner sanctuary, a place where the clamor of the world could not penetrate. You might sense the deep breath he would take, the quiet centering of his thoughts, before facing the next challenge. This was the true battlefield. For Marcus, not the plains of Germania, but the landscape of his own mind, where he constantly strove for clarity, calm, and virtue. You can almost feel the quiet resilience, the gentle stubbornness of a man determined to maintain his inner peace regardless of external circumstances. As you allow yourself to drift further into this tranquil narrative, consider the profound growth that can occur in the quiet spaces between significant events. Marcus Aurelius, through his experiences on the frontier, teaches us that the deepest lessons are often learned not in triumph or defeat, but in the sustained effort of living, observing, and reflecting, quietly weaving the threads of experience into the tapestry of wisdom. You might find a quiet sense of calm in this idea that even amidst life's demands, there is always room for inner cultivation and gentle growth. You might sense a delicate shift in the emotional landscape, a quiet sorrow that settles like a fine dust over the relentless march of imperial duties. Even for an emperor, even for a Stoic philosopher, the human heart remains vulnerable to the gentle ache of personal loss. It wasn't the dramatic, public mourning of a nation, but the quiet, private grief that touches every individual life, reminding us of our shared fragility. You can almost feel the profound silence that descends when a loved one departs, a quiet space where memories linger like soft echoes. Imagine him in the quiet of his private chambers, the sounds of the bustling palace muted, the weight of his imperial duties momentarily set aside. It was here that the deepest sorrows often unfolded. The loss of his children, one by one, was a recurring motif in his life, a poignant reminder of the impermanence of even the most cherished bonds. You might picture him holding a small, delicate hand, feeling the warmth fade, and then the quiet emptiness that remained. Each departure was a subtle fracturing of his heart, a quiet testament to the enduring pain of parental love. These personal tragedies were not met with outward displays of despair, but with an internal fortitude forged by his philosophy. You might perceive the profound discipline required to acknowledge the pain without being consumed by it. Stoicism taught him that while he could not control the fact of death, he could control his reaction to it. He mourned, yes, for grief is a natural human response, but he also strove to accept, to find meaning even in sorrow, and to continue his duties with unwavering dedication. You can almost feel the quiet strength that allowed him to carry this burden, the internal struggle to integrate loss into his understanding of a meaningful life. The death of Lucius Verus, his co-emperor and adopted brother, was another significant, quiet blow. You might sense the subtle shift in the dynamic of leadership, the absence of a familiar presence. While their partnership was forged out of necessity, it had developed into a working relationship built on respect. His passing meant Marcus now bore the full weight of the empire alone, not as a sudden jolt, but as a quiet, heavier cloak settling upon his shoulders. You can almost feel the quiet solitude of his elevated position, the realization that the ultimate decisions, the ultimate burdens, were now his and his alone. In these moments of quiet grief and renewed solitude, his meditations became even more intensely personal, a silent confidant for his deepest emotions. You might imagine him seeking solace in the rhythmic act of writing, each word a gentle exploration of his feelings, a quiet wrestling with the human condition. He wrote about the fleeting nature of life, the inevitability of death, and the importance of living virtuously in the time allotted. These were not just philosophical treatises, but heartfelt reflections from a man who had known profound sorrow. You can almost feel the quiet sincerity of his struggle to find meaning and purpose even when his heart was aching. Yet, through all these personal trials, his commitment to his public duty never wavered. You might observe the quiet resilience with which he continued to govern, to lead, to make decisions for the good of the empire, even as his own spirit carried its quiet burdens. He understood that his role transcended his personal feelings. It was a sacred trust. His ability to compartmentalize, to mourn privately while serving publicly, was a testament to his remarkable self-discipline and his profound sense of responsibility. You can almost feel the quiet strength that propelled him forward, a silent resolve that echoed his stoic convictions. As you allow yourself to drift deeper into this gentle narrative, consider the quiet dignity with which a life can embrace both profound responsibility and personal sorrow. Marcus Aurelius, in his quiet moments of grief, teaches us that while the heart may ache, the spirit can remain steadfast, guided by principle and an unwavering commitment to duty. You might find a quiet sense of empathy in this shared human experience, a gentle reminder that even the most powerful among us know the quiet pain of loss. You might feel a subtle shift in the prevailing atmosphere, a transition from the sharp sting of personal sorrow to the dull, persistent ache of protracted challenges. The empire, much like a grand ancient tree, faced not sudden storms, but the slow, relentless erosion of time and continuous pressure. For Marcus, his reign became an ongoing testament to patience, not a passive waiting, but an active, quiet endurance. You can almost sense the long stretches of unwavering focus, the steady gaze fixed on distant horizons, even when the immediate path felt arduous and unending. Imagine the countless hours spent poring over reports from distant provinces, the endless stream of petitions, the subtle complexities of governing a vast and diverse realm. You might picture him, perhaps late at night, the only sound the rustle of papyrus and the gentle flicker of an oil lamp, wrestling with decisions that would affect millions. These were not moments of dramatic heroism, but of quiet, methodical work and enduring commitment to good governance. The challenges were rarely simple, often intertwined, demanding not quick fixes but thoughtful, sustained effort. You can almost feel the quiet weight of these responsibilities, pressing down with a gentle yet undeniable force. The Germanic tribes on the northern frontier continued to be a source of persistent pressure. You might hear the faint echoes of their movements, a low, guttural murmur carried on the wind, always reminding him of the constant vigilance required. These were not always large-scale invasions, but continuous skirmishes, raids, and diplomatic complexities that demanded unwavering attention. Marcus's repeated journeys to the frontier, spending years away from the comforts of Rome, highlight his profound sense of duty. He wasn't merely commanding from afar. He was present, enduring the same hardships as his soldiers. You can almost sense the quiet determination that propelled him, the deep-seated belief that his place was with his people, on the very edge of the empire. His philosophical commitment to Stoicism became his quiet anchor during these demanding periods. You might envision him finding solace in the very act of practicing his beliefs, discerning what was within his control, his reactions, his effort, his virtue from what was not external events, the actions of others. This wasn't an easy task, but a daily, gentle discipline. He sought inner tranquility, not by escaping the demands of the world, but by facing them with a calm and rational mind. You can almost feel the quiet strength that flowed from this internal consistency, allowing him to maintain his composure amidst constant external pressures. Even the political landscape within Rome presented its own subtle trials of patience. The inevitable machinations of court, the differing opinions of advisors, the occasional whispers of discontent, these required not confrontation but prudent navigation. You might perceive his quiet wisdom in handling these internal matters, often choosing dialogue and understanding over rigid imposition. His leadership style was characterized by a certain gentle firmness, a willingness to listen, but an unwavering commitment to what he believed was right. You can almost sense the quiet integrity that guided his every interaction, building trust through consistent character. Throughout these long years, Marcus embodied the idea that true strength is not always found in explosive action, but often in steadfast endurance. You might observe the quiet rhythm of his days, a testament to the belief that progress often comes not in leaps and bounds, but in countless small, consistent efforts. He understood that leadership was a marathon, not a sprint, requiring a deep reservoir of patience and an unwavering commitment to the long view. You can almost feel the quiet, profound impact of his enduring presence, a steadying force in a turbulent world, as you allow yourself to drift deeper into this tranquil narrative. Consider the quiet power of patience and persistent effort in the face of life's unending demands. Marcus Aurelius, through his long years of patient leadership, teaches us that the greatest victories are often won not with a sudden flourish, but with a calm heart, an unwavering sense of duty, and a quiet, enduring spirit. You might find a quiet comfort in this steadfast resolve, a gentle reminder that true resilience blossoms from quiet persistence. You might feel a subtle shift in the air, a faint, almost imperceptible cloud passing over the sun, casting a delicate shadow. This isn't the dramatic onset of a storm, but the quiet, persistent presence of a growing concern, a worry that began to gently yet undeniably occupy Marcus's thoughts. It was the presence of his son, Commodus, a figure who represented not just the future of the empire, but a quiet unfolding question mark in the twilight of Marcus's life. You can almost sense the subtle ache in a father's heart, hoping for the best, yet quietly bracing for the unknown. Imagine Marcus observing his son, not with harsh judgment, but with a quiet, paternal scrutiny. He had dedicated his life to duty, to philosophy, to the rigorous demands of governance, and naturally, he wished to pass on not just the throne, but the very essence of his Stoic ideals to his successor. But Commodus, you might perceive, possessed a different spirit. There was a lightness, a certain impulsiveness, perhaps a quiet resistance to the grave responsibilities that awaited him. You can almost feel the gentle disappointment that may have settled in Marcus's heart, not a condemnation, but a wistful recognition of differing paths. The decision to name Commodus as his successor was not made lightly. You might picture Marcus wrestling with this choice in the quiet solitude of his study, weighing the traditions of heredity against the wisdom of merit. In a world accustomed to dynastic succession, to bypass his own son would have been an act of profound disruption, potentially inviting instability. So, with a quiet resolve, born of duty and circumstance, he made the choice that seemed to promise the most immediate continuity for the empire, despite any private reservations. You can almost feel the heavy sigh that might have accompanied this decision, a quiet acceptance of a complex reality. As Commodus grew into young adulthood, Marcus continued to guide him, not with stern lectures, but with gentle encouragement, always attempting to instill the values of responsibility, moderation, and public service. You might sense the quiet patience with which he tried to mentor his son, hoping that the rigorous training and exposure to imperial duties would temper his youthful inclinations. It was a father's quiet hope, a belief that character could be molded, that wisdom could eventually take root, even if it seemed slow to blossom. You can almost feel the quiet prayer in his heart, that his son would find his own path to virtuous leadership. Yet, whispers of Commodus's temperament, his growing fondness for spectacles and less serious pursuits, would undoubtedly reach Marcus's ears. You might hear the faint echoes of concern from advisors, the subtle shifts in the court's atmosphere. These were not open rebellions, but quiet, unsettling signs, like distant thunder on a clear day. For a Stoic emperor who valued reason and duty above all else, these observations must have caused a quiet, internal disquiet. You can almost feel the subtle tension, the quiet foreboding of a man who saw potential challenges on the horizon, challenges that he might not live to address himself in these final years. As Marcus continued to battle external threats and manage the vast empire, the shadow of Commodus added a unique layer of personal concern. You might perceive the poignant blend of duty to the empire and love for his son, a complex emotional landscape where hope and apprehension intertwined. His meditations during this period subtly reflect his ongoing contemplation of human nature, leadership, and the unpredictable turns of fate, perhaps influenced by his quiet observations of his own successor. You can almost feel the quiet wisdom of a man grappling with the limits of his own influence, understanding that, ultimately, each soul must chart its own course. As you allow yourself to drift deeper into this tranquil narrative, consider the quiet burden of a leader who must contemplate the legacy he leaves behind, not just in policy, but in the character of his successor. Marcus Aurelius, in the quiet contemplation of Commodus, teaches us that even the most disciplined mind cannot fully control the paths of others, but can only guide with quiet wisdom, unwavering principle, and enduring love. You might find a quiet sense of compassion in this universal human experience, a gentle reminder of the quiet hopes and fears that accompany the passing of generations. You might feel the gentle slowing of time, a quiet elongation of moments as the narrative approaches its poignant conclusion. The air seems to thicken with a sense of inevitability, not of dread, but of a quiet, profound completion. Marcus Aurelius, having navigated plagues and wars, personal sorrows and imperial burdens, began to feel the subtle, undeniable tug of life's ultimate transition. You can almost sense the gentle weariness in his bones, the quiet drawing inward of a spirit that had given so much. Imagine him now, not in the grandeur of Rome, but once more on the northern frontier, surrounded by the quiet hum of a military camp. It was in the simplicity of these surroundings, perhaps, that he felt most at peace, most connected to the raw truths of existence. The body, resilient for so long, began its quiet surrender, not with a dramatic collapse, but with a gentle fading, like the last embers of a fire. You might perceive the quiet dignity with which he faced this final journey, his stoic principles providing not just comfort, but a final, profound affirmation. His last days were not filled with frantic activity or urgent decrees, but with a quiet contemplation, a gentle turning towards the very end he had so often written about. You might picture him in his tent, the soft light of dawn or dusk filtering through, perhaps dictating a final thought, or simply observing the world with the clarity that often accompanies profound reflection. He was, in essence, practicing what he had preached throughout his life, accepting the inevitable with grace, maintaining his inner calm in the face of what cannot be controlled. You can almost feel the quiet serenity that enveloped him, a peaceful resignation to the natural order. The advice he offered in these twilight moments, whether to his son or to his trusted advisors, was not about grand political strategies, but about the enduring virtues of life. You might hear the quiet wisdom in his words, emphasizing duty, compassion, and the pursuit of inner goodness. It was a final, gentle distillation of a lifetime of thought and experience, a quiet testament to the values he held most dear. He was passing on not just power, but a philosophy for living, a quiet torch to light the way for those who would follow. You can almost sense the profound legacy he was quietly weaving, not with monuments, but with timeless wisdom. His final, written thoughts, the last entries in his meditations, must have been imbued with a particular poignancy. You might imagine him reflecting on the journey he had taken, the lessons learned, the struggles endured, and the peace found within. These were the quiet conclusions of a deeply introspective life, a final conversation with himself about the nature of existence, the beauty of virtue, and the acceptance of impermanence. You can almost feel the quiet profundity of these last words, a gentle whisper from a heart that had sought truth and serenity above all else. The act of his passing was, for him, simply another natural event in the vast, continuous flow of the cosmos. You might perceive the quiet dignity of his final breath, not as an ending, but as a gentle return to the source from which all things emerge. His life was a testament to the power of the human spirit to find meaning and purpose, even in the most demanding circumstances, and to face the ultimate mystery with a calm and ready heart. You can almost feel the enduring presence of his wisdom, a quiet light that continues to shine long after his physical form has returned to dust. As you allow yourself to drift deeper into this tranquil narrative, consider the quiet courage of embracing life's final chapter with wisdom and serenity. Marcus Aurelius, in his last moments, teaches us that the end of a journey can be as peaceful as its beginning, a quiet return to the timeless currents of existence. You might find a quiet sense of peace in this profound acceptance, a gentle reminder that even in parting there is a quiet beauty. You might feel a soft, lingering warmth, like the gentle afterglow of a setting sun. Although Marcus Aurelius has passed from the world, his presence, his essence, did not simply vanish. Instead, it transformed, settling like a quiet, pervasive influence over the generations that followed. This is the subtle power of a legacy built not on conquest or material wealth, but on the enduring strength of the human spirit and the timeless pursuit of wisdom. You can almost sense the quiet resonance of his life echoing through the corridors of time, a gentle whisper of profound truths. Imagine his most personal work, the Meditations, not as a grand published volume, but as a collection of private notes, never intended for public eyes. Yet these quiet reflections, these intimate conversations with his own soul, survived. You might picture them, tucked away, discovered perhaps by chance, their profound insights slowly making their way into the hands of those who sought guidance. It was a testament to their universal appeal, their ability to speak to the human condition across centuries, without needing the fanfare of official pronouncements. You can almost feel the quiet power of these words, a soothing balm for troubled minds, then and now. His influence on the Roman Empire, though perhaps less immediately dramatic than the reigns of some, was one of quiet stability and moral authority. You might perceive the subtle ways his commitment to justice, his administrative diligence, and his compassionate approach to governance laid a foundation that endured even through subsequent turbulent times. He was a steady hand, guiding a vast ship through treacherous waters, not with sudden, violent turns, but with a consistent, thoughtful course. His reign was a period where reason and virtue were championed, setting a quiet standard for what leadership could and should be. The quiet reverberations of his philosophy extended far beyond the immediate confines of his empire. You might hear the faint echoes of his thoughts in the writings of later thinkers, in the quiet contemplation of scholars, and in the personal struggles of individuals seeking meaning in their own lives. His emphasis on self-control, resilience in adversity, and the acceptance of fate resonated with countless souls, offering a path to inner peace in a chaotic world. It was a philosophy that didn't demand grand gestures, but encouraged quiet, daily self-improvement. You can almost feel the gentle spread of these ideas, like ripples in a calm pond, reaching far and wide. Even the challenges he faced, the plague and the wars, contributed to the profound nature of his legacy. You might consider how his quiet endurance through these trials served as a powerful example, demonstrating that even in the face of overwhelming odds, a human being could maintain their dignity, their virtue, and their sense of purpose. It was not his victories, but his quiet resilience, his steadfastness in adversity, that truly defined him and offered a timeless lesson. You can almost sense the quiet inspiration he continues to provide, a beacon of strength for those grappling with their own difficulties. Ultimately, Marcus Aurelius left behind not just an empire, but a profound and enduring testament to the power of a single, reflective life lived with integrity. You might perceive his legacy as a quiet invitation, a gentle whisper across time, encouraging each of us to cultivate our own inner gardens, to seek wisdom and to find serenity amidst the inevitable ebb and flow of life. He remains a quiet guide, a constant reminder that the greatest battles are often fought, and won within the confines of our own hearts and minds. As you allow yourself to drift deeper into this tranquil narrative, consider the quiet and lasting impact of a life dedicated to inner virtue and thoughtful reflection. Marcus Aurelius, in his enduring legacy, teaches us that true power lies not in external dominion, but in the peaceful dominion over oneself, a quiet strength that continues to inspire long after the body has turned to dust. You might find a quiet comfort in this timeless wisdom, a gentle reassurance that the light of a noble spirit never truly fades. You might feel a quiet stirring within your own being, a gentle resonance that transcends the historical narrative and touches something deeply personal. This isn't merely the story of a Roman emperor, but a quiet echo of a universal human journey. The search for meaning, the struggle for inner peace, the navigation of life's inevitable challenges. Marcus Aurelius's wisdom isn't confined to ancient texts. It lives in the quiet moments of your own reflection, in the choices you make, and in the way you approach the world. You can almost sense his quiet invitation to look inward, to discover the stoic heart within yourself. Imagine a moment in your own life when chaos reigned around you, but you managed to find a quiet center. You might recall a time when disappointment struck, yet you chose not to despair, but to accept and move forward. These are the subtle, yet profound ways in which the spirit of Marcus Aurelius continues to resonate. His emphasis on distinguishing between what is within your control and what is not becomes a gentle guide in your own daily struggles. You can almost feel the quiet empowerment that comes from releasing the burden of things you cannot change, and focusing your energy on what truly matters, your own character and actions. His meditations are not just historical documents, but a quiet mirror held up to your own soul. You might find yourself pausing, perhaps before drifting off to sleep, contemplating a phrase or an idea that seems to speak directly to your own experiences. The quiet honesty with which he recorded his own doubts, his own struggles to live up to his ideals, makes his wisdom incredibly accessible. He wasn't a distant, infallible figure, but a fellow traveler on the human path, sharing his quiet insights with gentle humility. You can almost feel the quiet companionship he offers, a silent guide in your own personal journey of self-discovery. The resilience he displayed in the face of plague, war, and personal loss isn't just a historical anecdote. It's a quiet testament to the enduring strength of the human spirit that lies dormant within each of us. You might perceive the subtle courage required to face adversity not with outward defiance, but with quiet, inner fortitude. He teaches us that even when the world seems overwhelming, there is always a calm harbor to be found within your own mind, a sanctuary built on reason and virtue. You can almost feel the quiet inspiration he provides, a gentle nudge to cultivate your own inner strength. His unwavering commitment to duty, even when exhausted or grieving, offers a quiet challenge to our own understanding of purpose. You might reflect on the quiet satisfaction that comes from fulfilling your responsibilities, not for external reward, but for the inherent good of the act itself. Marcus reminds us that meaning can be found in the everyday, in the quiet dedication to our roles, whatever they may be. You can almost sense the quiet dignity that accompanies a life lived with a profound sense of purpose, a gentle reminder that every action, no matter how small, can contribute to the greater good. Ultimately, the story of Marcus Aurelius is a quiet invitation to cultivate a life of stillness amidst activity, of wisdom amidst confusion, and of peace amidst turmoil. You might find yourself, as you drift deeper into slumber, embracing the quiet calm that comes from knowing that the wisdom of the ages is not far away, but resides within the gentle beating of your own heart. He remains a quiet beacon, reminding us that the dream of the Stoic heart is not a distant ideal, but a timeless possibility, waiting to be awakened within each of us. As you allow yourself to drift further into this tranquil narrative, consider how Marcus Aurelius's quiet wisdom can illuminate your own path, gently guiding you towards a deeper sense of peace and purpose. You might find a quiet comfort in this connection, a gentle reminder that the most profound lessons often resonate most deeply when heard in the stillness of your own soul. You might feel the quiet, ceaseless turning of a grand, invisible wheel, the gentle, persistent march of time itself. For Marcus Aurelius, and for us, time is the ultimate, unwavering, constant, shaping all experiences, bringing both joy and sorrow, growth and decay. His life, viewed through this lens, becomes a profound meditation on the fleeting nature of moments and the enduring presence of the present. You can almost sense the quiet rhythm of the universe, a silent hum that carries all things forward. Imagine a single moment, a brief breath, suspended in the vast expanse of eternity. This was a core tenet of Stoicism that Marcus embraced. The only true reality is the present. The past is gone, the future is uncertain, and clinging to either only creates disquiet. You might perceive the quiet liberation that comes from fully inhabiting the now, from engaging with each task, each interaction, each sensation, with complete attention. It's a gentle invitation to shed the weight of regrets and anxieties, to simply be in the moment as it unfolds. You can almost feel the quiet freedom that arises from this mindful awareness. His long reign, almost 2 decades, was a testament to this persistent engagement with the present. Each day, each decision, each challenge was met with a renewed commitment to virtue and reason, without being overwhelmed by the enormity of the past or the uncertainty of the future. You might picture him, not rushing through his duties, but approaching each one with a deliberate, calm focus, as if it were the only thing that truly existed. This quiet dedication to the task at hand allowed him to navigate immense complexities, without succumbing to haste or despair. You can almost feel the quiet strength that stems from this unwavering presence. Even when faced with the grand historical movements of his era, the shifting borders, the rise and fall of leaders, the ebb and flow of human populations, Marcus maintained a perspective rooted in the ephemeral nature of all things. You might sense his quiet understanding that empires, like individuals, are transient. This was not a pessimistic view, but a realistic one, fostering a deeper appreciation for the beauty and fragility of life. It underscored his belief in the importance of acting virtuously, for reputation and worldly achievements were ultimately fleeting. You can almost feel the quiet humility that accompanied this grand perspective. His writings are filled with quiet reminders of this timeless truth that everything passes, that all things change, and that clinging to what is impermanent only leads to suffering. You might hear the gentle echo of his words, urging acceptance of life's cycles, birth and death, beginning and end. This embrace of flux wasn't about indifference, but about cultivating a deep inner peace that could withstand the inevitable currents of change. You can almost feel the quiet comfort in this understanding, a profound reassurance that even amidst constant transformation, an inner core of tranquility can remain untouched. As the quiet rhythm of this narrative continues to guide you towards slumber, consider the profound wisdom in embracing the ceaseless flow of time. Marcus Aurelius, through his life and his words, teaches us that while the external world is in constant motion, we can find a quiet, enduring peace by anchoring ourselves in the present moment, accepting the impermanence of all things and living each breath with virtue and awareness. You might find a quiet liberation in this understanding, a gentle invitation to simply be in the quiet unfolding of your own time. You might feel a sense of profound intimacy, as if you're privy to the deepest, most quiet thoughts of another soul. This is the essence of Marcus Aurelius's enduring legacy. His meditations are not grand philosophical treatises, but a series of intimate conversations with himself. They are the whispers of a mind grappling with life's big questions, processing daily events, and striving for continuous self-improvement, all in the gentle quiet of his own consciousness. You can almost sense the subtle turning of his mind, patiently seeking clarity and virtue. Imagine him in the hush of early morning, before the clamor of imperial duties began, or late at night, when the palace had finally fallen silent. You might picture him, perhaps by a flickering lamp, with a scroll and stylus, not writing for an audience, but for his own understanding. These were moments of profound self-reflection, a deliberate practice of examining his thoughts, his reactions, and his adherence to his Stoic principles. It was a daily ritual of accountability, a quiet commitment to becoming a better person, one thought at a time. You can almost feel the deep focus, the quiet intensity of this internal dialogue. His writings reveal a man who was acutely aware of his own imperfections, not with self-condemnation, but with a gentle determination to overcome them. You might perceive the quiet honesty in his observations about human nature, both his own and others. He recognized the temptation to anger, to envy, to judgment, and he consistently reminded himself to choose reason, compassion, and acceptance. Instead, this wasn't a sudden transformation, but a gentle, persistent effort, a quiet struggle to align his actions with his highest ideals. You can almost feel the quiet empathy that permeated his self-critique. Understanding the universal human condition, the meditations are filled with quiet reminders to focus on what is within one's control. Our judgments, our desires, our actions. You might hear the soft echo of his voice, urging you to release what lies outside your power, the opinions of others, the unpredictable turns of fate. This quiet distinction brought him immense peace, allowing him to remain unruffled by external circumstances. It's a philosophy that teaches us to build an inner fortress, not of isolation, but of calm resilience, where the storms of the world cannot penetrate. You can almost feel the quiet strength that arises from this unwavering focus on internal mastery. His private thoughts reveal a profound appreciation for the interconnectedness of all things, a quiet reverence for the natural order of the universe. You might sense his awe at the vastness of the cosmos and the fleeting nature of individual lives within it. This perspective fostered a deep sense of humility and a quiet acceptance of his place in the grand scheme of existence. It was a worldview that brought not despair, but a quiet sense of belonging, a profound understanding that all things unfold according to a greater design. You can almost feel the quiet serenity that came from this cosmic perspective. Ultimately, Marcus Aurelius' meditations are a timeless invitation to engage in your own silent conversation with yourself. You might find yourself, as you listen, quietly prompted to reflect on your own values, to examine your own reactions, and to cultivate a deeper sense of inner peace. His quiet wisdom, born from the unique challenges of imperial life, yet universal, in its application, continues to be a gentle guide for anyone seeking to live a more thoughtful, virtuous, and tranquil life. You can almost feel the quiet presence of his spirit, gently encouraging your own journey of self-discovery, as you allow yourself to drift deeper into this tranquil narrative. Consider the profound power of quiet introspection and the simple act of talking to oneself with honesty and kindness. Marcus Aurelius, through his personal writings, teaches us that the path to wisdom and inner peace often begins with a quiet, persistent dialogue within our own hearts. You might find a quiet comfort in this intimate connection, a gentle reassurance that the most profound insights are often found in the stillness of your own mind. You might feel a profound sense of peace settling over you now, like a soft, warm blanket drawn gently around your shoulders. We have journeyed through the life of Marcus Aurelius, not through the clamor of historical events, but through the quiet landscapes of his emotions, decisions, and innermost thoughts. And as our story reaches its gentle close, it invites you to embrace the same serene stillness that he found amidst the vastness of existence. You can almost sense the quiet contentment, the deep calm that comes from a life lived with purpose and reflection. Imagine the final whisper of the wind through ancient trees, a gentle sigh that carries away all the day's worries. For Marcus, the ultimate goal was not glory or power, but inner tranquility, ataraxia, as the Stoics called it. This wasn't a fleeting happiness, but a profound, enduring peace born from understanding the world, accepting its truths, and mastering one's own reactions. As you drift deeper into slumber, you might find yourself quietly accepting the rhythm of your own breath, feeling the gentle release of tension from your body. His life, with all its challenges and triumphs, became a living testament to the power of philosophical practice. He didn't just study wisdom, he lived it, quietly applying its principles to every aspect of his imperial rule and personal existence. You might perceive the profound simplicity of this approach, facing each moment with reason, courage, justice, and temperance. It's a gentle reminder that the path to a meaningful life isn't found in grand external achievements, but in the consistent, quiet cultivation of our inner selves. You can almost feel the quiet strength that emerges from this daily dedication to virtue. The meditations, his most personal legacy, remain a timeless companion for anyone seeking this quiet peace. They are not a set of rigid doctrines, but a series of gentle invitations to self-reflection, to question, to observe, and to choose wisely. You might find comfort in his honest vulnerability, knowing that even an emperor grappled with the same human struggles as you. His words offer a quiet reassurance that finding clarity and peace is a lifelong journey, marked by gentle persistence rather than sudden perfection. You can almost feel the quiet companionship he offers, a silent guide in your own quest for a calm heart, as the echoes of his story fade. What remains is the profound message of the Stoic heart, a heart that can remain calm amidst the storm, clear in uncertainty, and compassionate in its judgments. It is a heart that understands the cycle of life and death, accepts what cannot be changed, and focuses its energy on what truly matters. Living virtuously in the present moment, you might feel a deep, quiet sense of understanding settling over you, a gentle realization that true freedom lies within. So now, as you lie in the quiet embrace of this moment, allow the gentle wisdom of Marcus Aurelius to carry you further into the realms of sleep. Let go of any lingering thoughts or worries. Imagine yourself in a vast, peaceful landscape where the concerns of the day are distant whispers, and only a profound sense of calm remains. May your dreams be filled with quiet contemplation and serene wisdom. Good night. Sleep deeply and peacefully.